Coming up, ROBO-Dog 3D scans a historic mine. Time team joins mission to repatriate missing World War II aircrew in Suffolk. And Francis Pryor finds solace in a Fenland Garden. Welcome to Time Team News, your monthly dose of archaeology news and discoveries from Britain and across the globe. A quick update before we get started. June was all about Sutton Hoo, but what happens next? Well, the live shows provided a snapshot of the excavations as they happened in real time. But no, the post-excavation process begins, and we'll be bringing you the full findings in a special episode next year. Some of you have also asked, where's part 2 of the Sutton Hoo ship documentary? Well, the ship is still being built and we're continuing to follow the process, so we'll announce details of part 2 when it's on its way. So make sure you subscribe to this channel to stay up to date with the Sutton Hoo projects. Back to now, and it's another busy episode as usual. We've got Book of the Month lined up and more news from around the world. And keeping it in the family, some news just in. Time Team creator and series producer Tim Taylor has been awarded an honorary doctorate from the University of Plymouth for his outstanding achievements, commitment to archaeology and history and contributions to society at large. Congratulations, Dr. Tim Taylor. You've probably seen those videos online of dancing robots performing backflips and other stunts, but robots have all manner of applications in the real world and they're now being put to use in cultural heritage. In fact, Forestry England and University College London have deployed a ROBO-Dog to digitally map historic mine shafts in the Forest of Dean, Gloucestershire. And who would be at the forefront of all this other than Time Team's very own Lawrence Shaw? Let's find out what he's been up to.
With regards to what we're doing today, I specialise in landscape survey, so I learn about GPSs and LiDAR and lasers and mapping things, but above ground. I think the trickiest things we have to deal with are trees. But we're looking at the possibilities of using these robotic dogs to sort of inform the mapping of mines in the future, and this is just the first step. But I wonder what your take on that is in terms of bringing in robots to help with quite a cultural heritage-y themed discipline.
I'm quite enthusiastic about it really, because my own background is in mechatronics, and I was actually an electromechanical design engineer for most of my life. So there is a use to this. You know, I'm not opposed to using modern technology, provided it can work along with us and not instead of us.
I think that's such a nice way of putting it, and rather coincidentally, the robotic dog has just arrived.
Well, so we better go and see what it's about then, hadn't we? Yeah, well, off we go.
Demetrius, this is a beautiful thing that we've got in front of us. There's so much technology going on, and I'm assuming this is the LiDAR pod at the front.
This is one of the leaders that we use for getting a representation of the environment.
Is that a Connect from an Xbox?
Yes.
Okay, so
exactly.
What's that doing?
So this is a different type of sensor. It's like a camera. It gives a different perspective of the environment to the robot.
So we're using photo 3D imagery,
exactly.
We've got 3D point clouds,
exactly.
You've got two absolutely stonking lights on the front there,
yes.
which are going to be really important. But what's
that's
this
another
there?
leader.
So that's another LiDAR sensor,
another
okay.
LiDAR.
So you're trialling effectively 3 different mapping techniques while we're down there.
Exactly.
We've just been down the bottom of the mine. You've for the first time you've sort of got an idea of the terrain and the sort of the confined space that you're going to be working in. What's your initial...
it's a very difficult space, even for humans, I think.
Yes.
I think like we struggled ourselves. It's very challenging. I think I like it. 1, 2, 3. It's not just where humans cannot go, it's where it's dangerous to go. So this can adapt really nice in any environment without the need to open a road, you know, or a path even, like a wild animal. He can just go.
What's really exciting about what's going on here today is whilst it's a tiny step forward, we don't know what the results are going to be, it's one single case study, but the technology that the UCL team have got on that robot and the functionality of it to get into spaces where humans may not fit or it may not be safe, this has the potential to change everything.
Go, 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 go. Hold. No. Sit. Sit.
Oh my word. They seem pretty confident, and this is sort of the start of the whole thing.
Ready?
It's all quite literally downhill from here.
Yes. Put it down.
It's been so successful, we've lost them. It's dealing with these rails from the light gauge rails that are used to extract the coal material. It's dealing with the sleepers that go underneath it. It's avoiding the uneven surfaces, and we've already seen a few profiles of the 3D data that it's capturing, so it's immediately giving us meaningful data to collect.
That was difficult, but very successful. It didn't fail at all. I struggled in some cases where the mud was really deep. I mean, we struggled more than the robot, I think. It was good.
It looked
Really nice
looked really stable. It looks like
It
you
did.
hopefully have
It
got
was really
plenty of
stable,
good
even in
data.
difficult cases. It was just amazing.
What did you make of this then, Mike? What did you
I
first?
think it's definitely a start, and I think, you know, when it's been made in as long as I have, it'll probably be doing the job.
Let's go.
You can't make this stuff up. But what do you make of RoboDog? Let us know in the comments section below. Now we're able to share some news with you that has remained classified until recent developments. Time Team has joined forces with Cotswold Archaeology and Operation Nightingale to investigate an American B17 Flying Fortress that crashed in Thurston, Suffolk in 1944. Cotswold has coordinated the mission with the DPAA, the US government agency tasked with accounting for servicemen and women killed or missing in action overseas. Last week, families of the airmen visited Thurston for a special memorial service on the 80th anniversary of the crash, 19th of July 1944.
On this day, 80 years ago, 10 young Americans took to the air from RAF Nettishall in the Flying Fortress 42-30851, the Little Boy Blue, looking to continue their part in the liberation of Europe from tyranny. A mid-air collision ended the lives of 8 of these men and changed the world of the 2 survivors forever. These fields in Suffolk still hold the traces of that fateful day: broken pieces of airframe, a lost dog tag, shattered fragments of lives. The American government affirms its undertaking to leave no man behind, and so we have all returned to this spot to look for those men who are so much more than names carved onto a cemetery wall.
So the DPA's mission is to provide the fullest possible accounting for the thousands of missing U.S. service members around the world. Our goal is to repatriate where we can the remains of the service members back to their families, and that's a sacred mission for the DPAA. It's a very important mission in the U.S. context to provide answers and closure for the families and the comrades of the fallen.
The accident was at 15,000 feet. His chute opened at 2,500 feet. Quite a fall. It deployed the parachute, and this is a piece of that parachute that kept my father from the wreck here.
This crash in the 1940s is still within living memory for people who live around this area, and also for the family members of the people who were on this aircraft. And So it makes the archaeology have a little bit different of a resonance, because people knew when this crash happened, and they knew the people who were on board this aircraft. And so to be able to bring in US service members and UK service members onto the project, to have them contribute to helping to find answers is, I think it's a valuable and important aspect to these projects.
Look at this.
What have you got there?
Check.
Oh my God.
Aaron Brinkhurst, that's the co-pilot. Wow. That's incredible.
That's one of our three. Thanks to this find, we could end up having next of kin notified. So
wow.
That's absolutely incredible.
Amazing.
Absolutely incredible. Well done. Well done on that.
Thank you.
Be strong in the Lord and in the strength of his power. Put on the whole armor of God, so that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For our struggle is not against enemies of blood and flesh, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the cosmic powers of this present darkness.
Time Team has been documenting this story for a special episode presented by Dr. Helen Geek, to be released later this year.
But in the Second World War, I'd have been cycling through a very different landscape. The sky would have been filled with enormous American bombers from the 43 air bases around East Anglia. It was the largest air armada in history.
Full details of that documentary to be announced in due course.
With the dedication of this memorial, we've gathered to express our collective gratitude to these men and all the others of the greatest generation. In a personal letter from radio operator Ronald Gray's mother to one of the survivors of the crash, Hal Haggerty, she expressed a hope that one day there might be a service on the field in which he died. Today, we fulfil that wish.
Ancient stone carvings of pharaohs and hieroglyphs have been discovered submerged underwater in the River Nile near Aswan in Egypt. The carvings include depictions of the pharaohs Amenhotep III and Thutmose IV, who ruled during the 14th century BCE. Aswan in southern Egypt is known for its huge granite quarries, the source of stone for many ancient monuments, including the pink granite that adorns the Pantheon in Rome. These newly discovered monuments would originally have been above the waterline, but the area was intentionally flooded when a dam was constructed between 1960 and 1970. Efforts were made by UNESCO at the time to preserve and record archaeology before the flooding. Huge monuments were moved to new sites and reassembled, including the colossal statues of Ramses the Great at the Temple of Abu Simbel. However, some structures and artefacts remained in situ as construction began, and this new project, a French-Egyptian collaboration, is now using a range of modern techniques to locate and record more of this submerged archaeology. The latest discoveries were announced in a statement from the Egyptian Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities. It's early days yet, but we look forward to more details. Book of the month now, and this month we're catching up with another old Time Team friend. It's Francis Pryor and his latest read, A Fenland Garden, creating a haven for people, plants and wildlife. Francis is famed for his archaeology of the Fens, a flat, marshy area in eastern England, and Francis discovered the Bronze Age wetland site Flag Fen, but this book brings him a little closer to home. According to Sir Tony Robinson, Francis is a fine writer and visionary, with an intelligence as sharp as an archaeologist's trowel. Time spent in his company, in person or in print, is well spent. And Francis is here now. Hi Francis, this doesn't sound like your typical archaeological material. Tell us more.
I started writing this book because when I'd written lots and lots of books about the archaeology, I suddenly thought, well, what's the point in writing about the past if you can't judge it from the present? As an archaeologist, I'm used to measuring things down from the layer of grass and topsoil at the top and going down and down and down. And what I'd left out in my archaeological writing was the layer of grass and topsoil at the top, so that you can judge what lies below. So that's what this book is. It's a layer of grass and topsoil, which has kept me sane for 40, 50 years. And when I was being an active archaeologist, inevitably you'd come across these arrogant, bossy people who usually come from a university somewhere and would tell you that you're doing everything wrong. And instead of doing what my natural instinct is to give them a wallop, you don't. You go back to your vegetable garden and you dig a plant of potatoes, sticking your spade in the ground. And at the end of it all, when you've been very grumpy, you've got a delicious meal of lovely potatoes. So they're great places, vegetable gardens, to vent your spleen and enjoy yourself.
So you put this all in a book?
Well, I've actually laid this book out as we laid out the garden, really. So it's done historically, and it starts off here with Maisie standing in the field entrance leading into the garden in 1992. And then we have the construction of the house. We spent the first night in there on Christmas Eve, 1994. And we now have, there's a centre spread of the garden with sheep and lots of roses. There are hundreds of different roses. And it's a historical account, but one that is, it's a little unusual. And then bottom right there is the nut walk, which is 2 rows of hazel bushes, which produce fabulous quantities of hazelnuts. Only 4 years ago, the grey squirrels found our garden, and now we don't get a single nut.
This sounds so much more than a gardening book. It's a personal journey.
Oh, yes, it is. Yeah, this is a personal journey. And it's, you know, it's given Maisie and me a much closer relationship, I'm sure of it. And I think that's important about gardening. You know, it sorts all sorts of problems out. And it's such fun too. I mean, after a hard day's garden, crack open a bottle of cheap bubbly. Oh, can't beat it.
And the paperback version of A Fenland Garden is available now, published by Apollo, and it's well worth a read. It's a year on since we first launched Time Team News and our appeal to reach a goal of 10,000 Patreon members. Well, we actually did that in 9 months, and it's thanks to your ongoing support that enables us to develop new sites and continue to expand the Time Team world. We're busy preparing to launch our next target and announce some exciting developments for the next year ahead and beyond. That includes a selection of new digs and more classic episodes from the archives alongside other projects in the works. We can't wait to share the next steps with you, so make sure you've got your notifications on and stay tuned for some big announcements. Well, that's it for this month. To help with scheduling, we're thinking of moving the release date of the news from Saturdays to Wednesdays, but does that make any difference to you? Let us know in the comments section below. This Sunday, don't forget to watch From Forest to Frontline, investigating a World War I training camp, Clipston Camp, on the 110th anniversary since the war began. As always, the 3D models featured in this episode can be found over on Patreon, alongside extended interviews and much more. So thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you next time.
Join Time Team on Patreon to access exclusive 3D models, masterclasses and behind-the-scenes insights.